Hello, I read Klara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro in July of 2021. Uh, I will put a spoiler alert in front of this review because I think this book is kind of quietly suspenseful. And to fully discuss what I want to discuss, I think there's inherently spoilers in that. I think going into this book without knowing anything is probably the best way to go because the way it unfolds is part of its story. So firstly, I loved the beginning of this book. With Klara in the shop, her gentle daily observations of watching. I immediately cared for Klara, and I think that was so beautifully done. I felt her patience and her warmth, and yet her also underlying yearning to find a home. And I also loved that I didn't understand everything in this world. For me, it actually felt more like a parallel world rather than a future. I've seen in some reviews describe it as like a near future, but to be honest, it just didn't feel like this world was ravaged enough by climate change for it to properly feel like the future to me. It very much felt like our world, like today, but just with slight changes, more like a parallel universe. And there were still concepts at the end that I didn't fully understand. And I was okay with that because it didn't feel like the focus of the story. I felt like I got just enough, but no more. And so Josie is, this ill young girl, but she's treated like a character, like a full person. And, I'm ill and I was once a child, and I related to so many aspects of her childhood to a point that it really was moving for me. I loved watching Klara build her relationship with the sun. This is really the only time we see Klara's desires in the book. What she wants, what she actively seeks is to help Josie, and it was just so sweet. Going into this, I knew it was about a kind of AI type story, and I thought this book was going to explore, a progressive sentience, and thus Klara would begin to feel resentful towards the people. But that didn't actually happen. Klara just really cared for them. They felt like her family, and because she builds relationships like a person, she loves them. And I think that is a really interesting way of exploring AI sentience. It doesn't always lead to anger or revolt, and in this story it leads to love and affection. I think traditionally, when we've thought about or people have written about stories where AI get more like human, we think of them as getting more violent. And it's like, well, yes, humans are violent, but we also have love and family, and why wouldn't an AI develop that too? I really loved Klara's dialogue. I think it really matched her character. However, I also think that the other people's dialogues also felt a bit stilted, when you're learning a language and there are those really stilted, obvious conversations in the textbook that no one actually talks like, but you have to read them because you're trying to learn the vocab, right? Some of the conversations in this book read like those. This is the first Ishiguro that I've read, so I don't know if this is his style or if it was particularly for this world that he was building, or I don't know, but it did make everything feel slightly off, and again, like this sense of a parallel world like ours, but not quite. And for that reason, it didn't really bother me. I think it just added, and it felt in keeping with the tone of the book. I will say my biggest criticism of the book is that there really isn't a climax at all. I really enjoyed the build-up. I really enjoyed the happy ending. I actually thought the ending was really, really beautiful. But yeah, there was never really this climax, this bit that felt like, yes, this is where all the stories come together, or like this is sort of a little more explosive than other points in the book. It felt like it was building towards something, and then that something never really happened. It just kind of ended, and it did feel a little underwhelming, even though I can't pinpoint to one bit that felt underwhelming, because any bit I point to, I'd say, well, yeah, I enjoyed that, because I did enjoy everything that was there. but part of me wonders whether that was intentional. You know, I don't think he wanted a traditional ending as such to this book. You know, and this book is exactly what it was trying to be. Whether you're going to like it is another question, but you know, it is successful at the tone and the atmosphere and the themes that he was trying to develop. And I liked it. It was enjoyable. I enjoyed my whole way through it, but it never quite rose above that.